Hello friends, followers and channel members, welcome to another video here in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and in today's video we're going to be having a little look at GSX and its current state. I'm getting asked a lot at the moment, probably because GSX was recently on sale. Is GSX still buggy? Is it now worth it? Have things been fixed? So we're going to go and take a little look at what is and what isn't working correctly in GSX at the moment. And as well as this, I'm also going to show you how you can quite quickly add any passengers to any airport anywhere in the scenery to really help bring your airport to life. Now, updating GSX is not really that intuitive, and this is one of the downfalls of the software. What you need to do is you have to run the FSDT, the FS Dream Team live update, and when you open this you will find that the update button just there doesn't actually tell you if an update is currently available or one is pending. You just have to hit it and see what the software does. There is no version number listed either, telling you what version of GSX you currently have installed. I do find this a little confusing, as almost all other software, airports, sceneries, aircraft give you a version number. At the moment, as far as I can see, GSX does not. You just have to open up the FS Dream Team Live Update installer, hit the update button and see what downloads. As you can see, that's going away down at the bottom of the screen. If, however, you do know there is a version number somewhere, then please let me know in the comments down below, because I have clearly missed it. What there is, though, once the update has been done, there is a release notes section, which of course you can check out, and you'll see from looking at these release notes that the FS Dream Team are actively working on GSX quite a bit. As you can see as I scroll through all of these, that there are many things, bugs and new features that have been implemented and have been addressed. We'll have a look at a couple of those a little bit later on in the video as well. Remember, of course, you are still going to have to go into the configure options for GSX and exclude all your third-party airports. Some of these are done by default just by pressing that exclude third-party button, but others sadly are not. And as you scroll through, you will see all of the airport jetways that are available, and if they are still in the list on the left-hand side and you know you've got custom scenery for them, you will want to exclude those manually just by pressing the single little arrow pointing to the right above this window. Again, I still find this tedious, but nothing we can do about it. It has to be done. So let's go and look at making one of our airports a little bit more realistic. We'll add a couple of docking systems to the gates, and we'll also show you how to add passengers. Not just the passengers that walk to your aircraft, but passengers inside the terminal buildings, etc., so that the whole airport environment looks a lot more realistic. So obviously we're going to start by just opening up the GSX menu. Sometimes takes a second or two to load. It's loaded straight away this time, so that's nice. Let's customize this parking position then. Now it says customize the parking position, but actually that is what is used to open up this menu, and it's from this menu that we can pretty much do everything we need to, including just adding general passengers to our airport and making things much more realistic. So gate 7, 8 and 9, we're going to add the video docking guidance system to it rather than using a marshaller. So let's go and select one. I like the SafeDock T142. Of course, if you happen to know which one an airport actually uses, you can use any of those. But we also want a ground stand for this one, as there's nowhere to wall mount it. So if we now select this, and then we're going to customize the parking system. This will then bring up a list of keys that you're going to use to be able to do this. Now, what I do find a little bit frustrating is that this would be great to be able to actually keep on screen whilst you're doing it, so you don't have to memorize all of these. Sadly though, the moment we press OK to begin editing, this will disappear. So it's worth perhaps screenshotting this or taking a quick photo of it on your phone, just so you've got access to this. So then press OK, and the camera will automatically then, once you've selected OK, enter the drone mode. So if you're familiar with the drone Microsoft Flight Sim, it works exactly the same, and you can use it to move around. All of the key bindings for GSX editing do not interfere with the drone camera. That is, of course, except the cycle next objects and previous objects, F1, F2, F3 and F4, and all that does in the drone camera is it just changes the focus slightly. So if you're struggling to see sometimes, it may be worth going into your Microsoft Flight Simulator options and just disabling the key bindings for F1, F2, F3, F4. You'll probably be able to do without those anyway for general day-to-day flying, so that's not too much of an issue. We can see now that selected is the orange icon, and that is the parking system that we have just chosen. We've got the poles there, and to move it left and right you literally use the arrow keys. So if we just move this, you can see I'm shifting it left and right. If you want to move it a little bit faster, then hold down the left shift key and it will jump rather than just moving slowly, which of course is fine for those fine precisions that you need, but if you want to just move it quick, then you can use the left shift key. Okay, happy with that. When we want to move on to the next object to edit, press F4, and by default you can now see the top left hand corner. It tells us that the selected stop position is showing. So we can see here that we can choose exactly where we want that aircraft to stop. That actually doesn't look too bad, and I'll be honest with you, most of the time the default stop position is based on the information provided by your airport, so usually it's okay. It could perhaps go a little bit further forward for this, so if we wanted to move that forward, again just use your arrow keys. We're going to use the up key just to move it forward a little bit. Just make sure, of course, that we're not getting too close to anything else. That looks okay. And once we're happy with that, we can move on to the next item. And you can go through and amend any of them. The next one is the selected pushback, but we can move that actually because that looks like it's in an awful place. So again, if we want to just use the keys to move that around, remember I'm using my up, down, left and right arrows, and then if we want to rotate the object, then we need to use the number pad numbers 1 and 3. So if we just spin this around so it looks a little bit better, then we can position it where we want it to go. That doesn't look too bad, and that will do for now. There we are. And you can keep going through and move any of the items that you wish. Once you are happy with everything and where they're positioned, press the enter key or return key on your keyboard. That then will exit the editor and it should bring up the screen for you to just apply any other savers that you need. Might take a second. There it is. So this is the screen then you can go through, and from here we can then look at customizing walker waypoints and also customizing passenger waypoints. Now because this has a jetway, then we won't need to touch the passenger waypoints because we're not going to have passengers walking out of a door in the terminal and boarding the aircraft. Not at this stand anyway. We can go through and customize one of the other stands a little bit later on if we wish, but let's just move now and have a look at the walker waypoints. So the walker waypoints behave a little bit differently to the passenger waypoints. The passenger waypoints are exactly as they sound. They are the passengers that are going to follow a predetermined path to board your aircraft. The walker waypoints are literally just random walkers around the airport, and that can help really add to life. So what we're going to do is add some passengers just walking up and down here in kind of the departure arrivals area of the airport, because then when you're docked at this airport it's going to look a lot more realistic to see some life and movement going on inside the terminal. In order to do that, you just need to bring up the editor screen as we had previously. Let me just bring that back in from my second screen. There it is. And we're going to customize the walker waypoints. Let's select that. Once again, we get information here and select OK. let me just find my aircraft in the drone mode. Once again, you can do that by just pressing number 5 on the numeric keypad, and you can see that a passenger waypoint, which seems like it's the wrong word, doesn't it? Because it's not actually a passenger waypoint, this is a walker waypoint, so a little bit of confusion to be avoided there. This passenger waypoint is where passengers are going to spawn, and then you can see behind it the number 2. That is the next waypoint. That is where they are going to walk to. First of all, let's get number 1 in the right place. So using the left shift key to move things quickly, I'm going to just put that over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them to spawn sort of just here inside this building. Now there's a little bit of a issue just trying to get it perfectly lined up, and then we obviously need to raise this up off the ground. So in order to do that, to lift a waypoint up, we use the Q button. Now these move very slowly. Once again, you can press the left shift button to jump, which makes things a little bit quicker. So I'm going to pop that in a place which we want to try and get it as close to the floor as possible, otherwise your passengers are going to look like they're levitating as they walk across. So just as that number 1 is hovering around there, that will do. Now let me just move that, and if we position it just so it is almost out of sight, so perhaps if we just find a place just here, that will do. It doesn't matter too much where they spawn, and just for immersion, you don't really want to see them actually just arriving and spawn in. Okay, so the spawning point is now set. Let's find the path and set that as to where they're actually going to walk to and from. So we now need to select the next waypoint, which is number 2. Press F4 and we've selected it. Okay, so this is the walker waypoint position number 2. Let's go, and if we pop that right all the way over here, then this is quite a nice easy track for us because it's just a big straight line. So let's go and pop that in, where then obviously we can see it. I'm moving it all the way to the end. We're now going to have to use the drone to catch up to that, and once again lift it up so it's on the level with the floor. Let's just put it in the right place, lift it up a few. To make sure that they are at exactly the same level, you've got little numbers as well, so you can revisit and see what number the first waypoint was at, and then obviously make sure that they match. So just bring that down a little bit. I'm just doing this by eye to save a bit of time, but obviously if you want to go in and make it absolutely perfect, you can do. So if I just set it to a sort of level where once again that waypoint is just disappearing ever so slightly through the floor, then it's not going to be a million miles away. There we go. So let me just position that where we want it. Out of sight is always good. And what actually happens is the passengers will spawn in at number 1. They will walk to number 2. When they get to number 2, they will simply turn around and walk back again. Right, so 1 and 2, that's done quite nicely. If you want to create a custom route and have them walking not in a straight line, so you want a third waypoint, well then this again is a piece of information which isn't really clearly demonstrated in that key bindings key editor that comes up to show you what keys to use. So you need to use the F6 button. Pressing F6 will increase the numbers, so that will spawn in a third waypoint and fourth, etc. If you want to remove them, it is F5. So now we've got those 2 waypoints set, I'm just going to press enter. That takes us out of the editor, and from here we'll get back to seeing the dialog screen. There it is. That's now done, and everything is now taken care of. We've got our 2 walker waypoints in, we've got our safe dock system in, and now we can close this and jump back into our aircraft. Remember, I'm using the default Neo aircraft just because it's easier on frame rates, and obviously once you're messing around and editing and things, frame rates are going to be a little bit better if we use this. And straight away, look, there we can see the passengers are starting to walk through the terminal, which is, well, exactly what we wanted, and great to see as well. If you do want to customize the passenger waypoints, those passengers that are going to board your aircraft, then that's quite easily done as well. Obviously, select the gate that you want to edit, or you can of course just simply make sure you spawn in there. And then in order to customize passenger waypoints, you must disable the passenger bus. Otherwise, the passenger bus just brings the passengers and then they go onto the aircraft without you being able to give any kind of route to those. So disable the passenger bus and then select the customize passenger waypoints. Again, just click OK to get rid of that. This will then enter the editor, let everything load, and now you start with the passenger gate. Move it just the way I'd shown you previously with regards to the walkaway points. This is just a default airport I've opened up. We're here in Aberdeen in Scotland, so you can just decide roughly where you want your passengers to kind of emerge. I always like to do it just behind or half behind a building, just because then it seems like they're coming out of a door. And of course, a lot of handcrafted scenery do actually have doors that you can use. The default ones, not so much. Once you're happy with that, you can then move on to the next object, which is done by selecting F4. And if you haven't got any other waypoints selected, you will need to create another one. This is done by selecting F6. If we select F6, we've now got a second passenger waypoint, which confusingly is labeled number 1. Remember, you have the initial spawning waypoint, and now this is, if you like, the first waypoint that they're going to go to. So we'll just pop this. We can pop this just here. You can see that there is a walkway kind of presented to you as well. You can turn that off if you don't want the barriers there, but I don't mind them, to be fair, and just for this example I'm going to leave those on. So we can say we're going to bring that out, bring the passengers out over here, and just go back a little bit actually, just to add a couple more waypoints. We'll give them a kind of convoluted route that they're going to have to walk around. So let's create another waypoint, which is again done by pressing F6. So now let's just bring that back. Can get a bit confusing using our arrows because they're not always as obvious as you might expect them to be. We'll select that just there, and then if you can just see where the blue lines are just here shown from the door, these blue lines show where the stairs will be parked. You don't need to create a waypoint between the final waypoint, if you like, and then the stairs, because the passengers will just walk to that automatically. So if we just bring this forward a little bit to kind of line that up just there, and then if we select enter, the menu will then be brought back up, and there you can see we've got our passenger waypoints, 3 of those. We can disable the passenger barriers just by selecting that. Once happy, press apply, close this down, and now if we go in and start GSX to let it board our passengers, we can quickly see those working. If you also link your GSX to SimBrief, if you use a SimBrief operational flight plan for your flights, then the visual docking guidance systems are now really useful and come alive with great information at the start. It tells you that boarding is being taken, how many passengers are coming on, what your estimated time of departure is, so a really nice touch. Following one of the latest updates to GSX, it will now ask you if you want to board nobody, the crew, the pilots, or both. Well, as we're already set in the flight deck, the pilots are already on, so we don't need to board those. If it's the first flight of the day, then yeah, board the cabin crew, but if it's just a turnaround flight, you don't want to board any of those, so you may as well just board passengers. You can select this or just leave it and it will board the passengers only. So, do I think GSX is currently worth it in its current state? I have to say yes. I know that particularly when it was reduced in price, it absolutely was worth it because you get great pushback usually every single time, and if you do have the patience to just want to go ahead and customize a couple of airports and even just down to a single parking stand, which really doesn't take long once you've got the hang of it, then it adds so much immersion to your sim. And not only that, people are now sharing profiles on flightsim.to which you can download for airports and pop them in, so people and this great community are doing just that and taking the difficulty for those of you who don't want to or don't have the time to go through and customize every airport parking stand at all of your payware airports. They are doing it for you, and it's as simple as just downloading a file and popping it into the required folder. So yeah, I do like GSX. I think it's getting better and better. It's still not without its issues. You can't customize the way and the route that vehicles will take, so you'll see them driving through walls and driving into each other occasionally, but to be honest, it doesn't happen too often, but there's nothing we can do about that at the moment. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have found this video useful. If you have any questions, then please do leave a comment down below and I'll try and get back to answer those for you. If you have enjoyed it as well, make sure you hit that like button, and don't forget, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so you don't miss any future videos and of course our live streams. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all again next time. Bye bye for now.